interview takes place in 2012 before she died. Welcome, Rosalie Wall. I'm Jennifer McMillan from People Magazine. It's so great to have you with us today. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions for an article about you? You're going to be People's Person of the Year 2012.
Go ahead. Thank you for picking me for this. It's an honor to be here.
So, what was it like growing up in the Depression era?
Well, it was hard because my dad worked a lot, so I didn't get to see him much. My siblings and I learned to reuse things and share until my younger brother and I moved to live with our grandma and grandpa after our mom's death. I was raised by women after my grandpa and brother were hit by a train, so I became very independent and stood up for what I thought was right, equal rights for both genders.
You certainly knew what you believed in, even at such an early age. How did you cope with so many losses in your childhood? I heard your mother, grandpa, and brother passed away.
Let me see. I remember that I read and wrote a lot after so many deaths. I also like to write poetry. I can share a couple of my poems with you if you want.
Yes, please do.
Okay, here is one. Here I have lived, here let me die. By yonder birch creek let me lie. Birch leaves drifting on the sands where I built my castles in my hands with you. And listen to the call, meadowlarks on grass tall. Black oaked horizon, skies above, bound for me this land I love. Birch creek within your heart I lie, as long as you live, so shall I. And here's another one. Foot in nest, wing in sky, bound by each hover I.
Those are beautiful. You are a very, very talented poet.
Now, I know it's not necessary to hover. Now I know it's possible to soar and to know the vastness of the sky and then come back fully to the nest enriched by the vision of the whole by the exercise.
Wow, that is quite inspirational. I will definitely use that advice in hard times. So, could you tell us about your college experience?
Okay. First, I enrolled at University of Kansas to get a journalism degree in 1942. I left partway through to teach in a one-room school, but then went back 2 years later because I decided I want to do something that would, in my mind, be more of a help to people. I went into sociology. While at that university, I was editor of the student newspaper for some time. I also led the YWCA as it made its first racially integrated housing for students on campus. I earned my BA in sociology.
You seem like you were very involved in the college community. That's great.
Thank you. This is more personal, but while there, I met Eldon Peck and became engaged to him. He enlisted in the Army and died in a training accident before we could get married.
Oh, that's terrible. I had no idea. I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you. It was a hard time, and I will never forget him, but you just have to move on and keep going. While working at the YWCA, I met Roswell Wall, who was a veteran. We married on August 19, 1946. We had our first son plus 3 more kids over the next 10 years. We moved to a co-op community in Circle Pine, Minnesota. In 1962, I enrolled at William Mitchell College of Law, which is a night school for working adult students. I was one of 2 women in a class of 125 students.
There were only 2 women and 125 people? Times have certainly changed for the better.
While there, I gave birth to my 5th child. I received my law degree in 1967.
So, what did you do after college?
Well, after college, I started working at the Minnesota office of the State Public Defender. It was a female-dominated office and a training ground for many future judges. I argued more than 100 cases while I was a public defender. I went back to William Mitchell and joined the faculty in 1973. There I became the founding professor of a student practice in criminal law. Students in my class would serve as defense attorneys for non-felony crimes. My class became very popular among students.
That's great. I didn't know that you taught a class.
Yeah, not many people know that about me. After that, Governor Rudy Purpich said he wanted a woman to fill a spot on the Supreme Court. Many people, like my students, wanted me to get the spot, so they lobbied for me. At the time, only 1 woman was a judge in Minnesota, but it wasn't on the Supreme Court. I got the place on the Supreme Court, and I served 17 years.
Wow, so you were the first woman on the Supreme Court?
Yeah, I was.
That's awesome. What did you truly believe was right in the world?
I think equal justice for all is very important, and I'm strongly against racial and gender discrimination.
How did you stand up for what you believe in?
Well, I created court task forces against racial and gender discrimination. I believe I made it possible for more women to succeed in legal careers and experience justice in court. I worked to end segregated housing at the University of Kansas. I also directed a clinical legal education program, which is known as the ABA Legal Education Section. Even after I retired in 1994, I still remained an active citizen because I served on many boards and organizations.
Whoa, I guess you really kept up your unwavering support for the people in this world.
It was one of my goals, and I tried my best to do that.
How do you think you inspired other people?
Well, I think I really inspired other women to go after what they want and don't be afraid to, even if there are gender differences. I also think I inspire people of all gender and color to stand up for what they believe in.
That certainly broadened my view of life and my beliefs of what is right. Thanks a lot for coming in. It was a pleasure meeting you, and you have really inspired me.
Thanks so much for having me. The pleasure was all mine.
Goodbye.